Hey guys, Ryuu here from Blender Bros, and in this video we'll talk about powerful framing. I'll show you some cool examples from ArtStation from really lead artists out there, and we're gonna talk about, what is framing, how to frame better, and how to basically improve in terms of composition. Okay, let's get started. So I have a few images here. I don't know if I'm going to be talking about all of them, but I just picked a few. Some of them are really good, and I'm going to start with my favorite one. So this is image by Andrew Whaling. And by the way, if I'm mispronouncing the names, apologies, but I'm only human. So anyway, this image, I think, is one of the best, if not the best, framings I've ever seen on ArtStation. Is brilliant. It's so well designed, it's actually painful. So let's talk about it. It's a cliche thing, but you have a really powerful, rule of thirds here, which is you can draw lines across this image and you will see that it's quite strong. So you have a line here at the top of his shoulder and the head, on the bottom the horizon and the hand, and this kind of in front of the human here, right? So very powerful composition. Then you got 70-30, which is basically, or more or less, which is this monster here, very detailed. And then you got this massive negative space in the tiny human, and everything is pushed to the right hand side, which is the way the monster looks at. So this is really cool. Then everything is really dull in color. It's monochrome basically, almost. It's just cyanish. But you got these two very powerful pulls of warm lights on his eye and, this torch. And this is really crazy in how powerful these 2 points are. You can realize how small of a light, a warm light can be, and how much attention you can pull if it's created in a very strategic place and has a lot of contrast. Then you got echoing, and it's really strong as well. You got shore echoing with the wings, you got this smoke echoing with the head, etc. So and the tentacles. This is really well designed. I don't think it was accidental. I think it's just this guy is just that good. But if you look at his other work, it's also extremely good. So he's just a really talented person in terms of framing and use of light and basically storytelling, because storytelling is fucking great as well. Not to mention that, art itself is just superb. So this image is like one of my favorite on ArtStation. Hands down, I absolutely love it. The scale is fantastic too. I mean, look at the scale building with this tiny human. I mean, how good is that? So this is really good. The birds here, if you can barely see them, they kind of fill the emptiness of this negative space, but they're so blurred and so kind of fuzzy and faint that you can barely see them. But if they weren't here, the scene wouldn't be full. So even though it's a very tiny accent, it's actually adding a lot of importance to the image, right? So yeah, this is incredible. If this was painted, and I think it was, I'm blown the fuck away. Now, if you're new to Blender, you would like to learn more about Blender and start creating some really cool models, we have a fantastic course for you, which is free, and you can get it on our website, blenderbros.com. So try the link in the video description, grab the course, and start your journey in hard surface modeling. Now, the artist I really like is Urschel, and he has a phenomenal intuition for lighting and composition, but especially lighting. And this is one of very good examples where you have this beautiful framing, kind of a supple framing from the sun here, which is kind of echoed by this roundish framing created by these elements here in the bottom. And since the vessel is also kind of roundish and supple, it's creating a very interesting and very powerful framing for this vessel. Also, you get this silhouette placed in front of a very strong light source. So even though you can't see any elements, this is extremely interesting because you're supposed to admire the silhouette of this vessel, not details, right? But you can still make out what's what. There's an entrance, wings, etc. The human is offset by this leg here, which is really cleverly done. So this is really nice, beautiful space here behind him. which brings more importance to him because one, it's a human, and two, there's more space around him, so it just pops much more, much quicker into your brain as an important element, because this will be considered as an area of detail because of this, you know, this box here, whatever it is. So the only thing I'm not crazy about is this pull here on this side. I don't know if it was accidental or it was supposed to balance the signature or something. Or maybe when we balance this one, but you know, this could be dialed down a bit. But other than that, this is just insane. Look at his work, because he's absolutely great with lighting, and he also has tutorials, so, you know, worth checking out. Then we have Max Hay, which is a very young artist from Canada, I think, and he has a very good understanding of lighting at such a young age, which is pretty incredible, and also creating story. I mean, you know, his images are all about story. This one is really cool. Huge scale of this fan, tiny human here, really nice offset with this lights for this light here, beautiful framing in shape of a triangle as well, a very powerful framing from the top. So this is really interesting image, and really great lighting too. Great job on that one. This one is by I think French artist Paul Charleson, and he's a master of scale. If you go on his art station, he has some really massive, interesting, you know, structures, sci-fi structures, ships, etc. And he's a genius at feeling scale. I think one of the best, if not the best artist in terms of understanding scale is him. So if you want to learn it, go there. This one is so complex and so crazy, it's literally, you know, leaking brain. But this one is a chaos, but he managed to frame it, even though we have some insane pulls on the left hand side. But we also have massive contrast on the right side and warm pull in the middle. And then we got very powerful framing from, you know, from the top and the bottom, pointing in the middle. So even though you got these pulls here, they become a framing for the main feature, which is here in the middle, right? This is a very interesting study for understanding how to frame something that's so messy and there's so much fucking detail. This is extremely difficult to do. So follow this guy as well. Then we have Zbrotsky, which is insane. He's an insane painter. And if you look at this image, this is such a powerful composition and framing. If you zoom it out, this entire image is just a pure motion. There's just a pure motion of this tree spiraling into a, you know, golden ratio, but it's offset by these tiny figures here in the bottom. This is just great. You got these powerful, you know, frames here which are diagonal, which add dynamism to this movement of this tree. So this is really fantastic. It's kind of like a wave, you know. Looks like this wave, this Japanese famous painting, kind of. Maybe it was based on that, but this is, you know, really cool. And then you got the fantastic depth creation with plan number 1, 2, and 3. So, you know, the environment kind of fades in. And you got this tiny, I mean tiny element here, but you can clearly see there's, you know, there are two creatures and they're kind of talking or whatever, or walking and admiring. And you will see them immediately, even though they're so tiny, and they're offset by this massive tree here. Look at this other artwork, is really incredible. He knows really well how to play with light and composition and how to also manage so many elements in one image. So very skilled artist. Then we have Cole Price. I mean, Cole's images are great. And this one is one of my most favorite images on ArtStation. I absolutely love this image. I love everything about it. The mood, the storytelling, the design, the framing, the composition is just brilliant. So this one breaks the rules, because if you think about it, if this is the front of a vessel, you can clearly see that, you know, it's a face, and we're going to be drawn to face-like images or something that resembles face immediately, you know, eye, mouth, etc. Right? It looks like a gecko or some kind of a chameleon or something. So we're gonna be seeing this immediately, and it's really close to the edge of the frame. But you got this massive wing element with this kind of like, you know, rain vortex, whatever it is, and strong lights here. So in terms of composition, you got a very powerful triangle here, and this entire ship, you know, is actually filling the frame. It's closer to the left hand side than the right hand side, so even though the face is really close here, it works. Then you have faint, you know, kind of accents of, you know, where it is, somewhere in mountains, and a beautiful pull in the bottom in the form of these humans here that, you know, you can't miss, especially that you have 3 lights in the bottom. So you will be forced to look in here to notice them. This is, this is done on purpose, guys. Okay, it's these lights. And then you got this kind of a, distance, fading into a distance, sort of, few more landing vessels, which is kind of interesting, right? You need something here on the top, otherwise it probably wouldn't work. But yeah, this is really cool image. So I like it a lot. This one is fantastic, and it's by Nikita Pilukshin. And this is a very interesting framing and very interesting conscious design in terms of lines. Okay, so if you, for example, look at this image, you look at this fire, this is really clever. You got a very strong fire here and very strong fire here and a human here. That's 70-30, which is an interesting thing. Then you got a very, even distribution of these elements across the frame, right? So the rule of 30 is very strong in here. And then you got echoing, very powerful echoing through across the entire frame. You got echoing through the mountains and the wing shapes. So the entire environment supports the shape of the main feature of the main actor, which is the ship and this guy, okay? Then the ship faces this way and the human faces this way. They crawl away from one another. So it kind of amplifies the fact that he nearly died and you want to get the fuck out. So this is a superb image and beautiful framing, very busy on the bottom, negative space on the top. This is really well done. So this is one of my most favorite images on ArtStation as well. I really like, this artwork. There's also 3D artwork by Tony Brattensevich. He was working in Blizzard on Diablo Cinematic, I think, and other stuff. And he's a very skilled artist too. And look at this. This is such a great environment. Beautiful design, this one. It's a beautiful concept. But then you have such a powerful framing. You got this warmth in the front, blue in the back, creating depth in this image. You got the blurry vessel, which you would normally kind of omit, you would not notice it, but because of the red accents, you can't help noticing it. So it's red on green, so you will look here immediately, right? But because it's blurred, you're going to be pointed back into this image, and you're going to notice the tunnel towards which he's flying, right? And then you'll notice the city, which is framed by, these two elements. So this is really cool. This tower outweighed by this one. If this wasn't here, it wouldn't work. These clouds and brightness is kind of offset by this vessel. So you got the communication here. This is really powerful. You got two massive triangles. The image is split into massive triangles. Two images in one, and it's like transitioning from one world to another. This is a very interesting, image, and probably took a lot of time to create. To sum it up, guys, I would like you to understand one important thing. In order to learn composition, framing and all that, good design, etc., you should be following the top artists out there and look at good art and good art only. If you're going to focus on medical art, watching some stuff on Facebook, eventually your brain will start registering it as norm. And you don't want to do that. You want to always aspire, to some people that, you're almost terrified of them. You say so intimidating in terms of level and skill that you think you're never gonna get there. That's who you want to follow and aspire to, because that's the group that knows what's up, okay? That's the 1% on the top. And you need to train your brain to understand what is a good image, and immediately you're gonna be rejecting bad images, and this will improve your skill in composition, etc. So when you design something, okay, doesn't matter what it is, always look at reference images and make sure that these images are good. So my suggestion would be to go to one of these guys, okay, one of the guys I talked about, check their art stations and check who they follow. Usually they're gonna be following artists that are worth following, okay? So make sure you're gonna create some kind of a database and follow good people. This is not important, it's essential for you to look at good images every day to train your brain to understand, so the brain understands what is a good image. And eventually it's going to become like a second nature. You'll just feel it. You don't have to think about it, you feel it. Okay, so until it's a muscle memory, train your brain to recognize good stuff. And the only way to do this is by following, the top artists. Incidentally, we are creating a really cool course for you guys. It's going to be massive, and it's going to be focusing on rendering and composition, everything you need to know, and it's going to be really in depth. Going to be talking about everything: composition, rules, framing, lighting, Cycles, Eevee, Blender, Photoshop, like literally all of it. And hopefully it's going to help you out to understand a lot of things and kind of realize a lot of things and improve your artwork. Because let me tell you, the way you present yourself on ArtStation or wherever you want to put your portfolio is how you're going to be perceived by potential clients. And you're going to be fished out or fished, or you're not going to be fished out. So it's up to you. But it's not just about getting the job. The better your portfolio is, the more you can charge, okay? That's the key. So you can up your price based on your folio. So don't be that guy who just half-assed the renders, and put some shite on ArtStation because you can't be bothered to finish it. Drag it till the end, okay? So when you, model something cool, then think how you want to present it. Try to create a story, or at least create a good render that presents your model well. Start with this, learn the lighting, and then you can move on to story creation, which is gonna empower your model because it's gonna look even more cool, right? Because like if you look at this image by Cole Price, it's not just presenting a great design of a model, right? Because the design is really cool, but it's also selling that design because you really enjoy the story. You see the scale, you see, everything is like a shot from a movie, like a sci-fi movie, right? This is fantastic. So that's how you want to present your art, okay? Alright guys, that's it for the video. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.